Artificial intelligence is not here to replace you. It's here to rescue you from evenings, from grading purgatory, and help you lesson plan without the Sunday night panic. Let's talk about how to use it smartly and avoid the robot apocalypse while we're at it. I'm John Van Dusen, a longtime teacher, coach, and Army officer. And in this episode, we're talking about artificial intelligence in the classroom. So this topic came from a good friend of mine. His name is Thad. He teaches out in Oregon, and he was featured in episode 25 talking about substitute teachers. And I bring that up because after Thad gave us his remarks on how to best prepare for a sub, or if you are a sub, something really interesting happened. And I'm not saying that is the purpose of this or the reason for this, but in Thad's comments, he said, make sure if when you're the substitute teacher that your room is not the source of a fire. And then what comes out is the latest TikTok trend where students are sticking their lead pencils inside their charging ports of their Chromebooks, causing a fire. So if you're a substitute teacher, Thad was not joking when he said, make sure your room is not the source of a fire. But to continue with this episode on AI, Thad had dropped a comment that said, hey, I would really love to hear how you use AI in your classroom and maybe how you can use it as a teacher or as a student. So that's what we're doing right now. We're going to talk about AI. Now, the first part, I'm going to pull out my phone because I used some AI on it this morning, and I simply asked, what is AI? How would you explain it to someone who is new in the AI world? And I used Gemini for this, which is the Google product for AI, and it said, and I quote, hey there, think of AI or artificial intelligence as teaching computers to think and learn like humans. It's about creating machines that can perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. Imagine teaching a dog new tricks. You show it what to do, reward it when it gets it right, and it eventually learns. AI is kind of similar, but instead of a dog, it's a computer program. And instead of treats, we use data and algorithms to help it learn. So instead of explicitly telling a computer how to solve every single problem, we give it the ability to learn from examples and figure things out on its own. This allows computers to do some pretty amazing things like recognize images, like your phone knowing it's a picture of your cat, understand speech, like when you talk to a voice assistant and it understands what you're saying, make predictions, like suggesting what movies you might like based on what you've watched before, solve problems like finding the fastest route on a map or playing a game of chess. It's a vast and consistently evolving field, but at its core, AI is about making machines smarter and more capable of handling complex tasks. So that's what Gemini said that AI is. So then I asked the question, well, how can teachers use it? And it gave me a big, long list that I'm not going to read here. So at the end of that answer, I said, make this list shorter. And here's what Gemini said. Okay, here's a more concise list of how teachers might use AI. Personalized teaching, automate tasks, enhance teaching, support special needs. Essentially, AI can help teachers personalize instructions, save time on administrative work, improve their teaching strategies, and better support diverse learners. So I say all of that to tell you that AI, I want you to think of it as basically an unpaid intern. So as an intern, it doesn't know as much as you do. It only knows what you teach it. And I say unpaid because the work that it does is similar to someone who is volunteering. It's going to be as good as it can be, but it's not going to be as good as you could do it on your own. When AI first came out and I started using it, I talked about it. I would say it's the instant coffee of writing because it gives you a baseline, it gives you what you need, you get that caffeine fix, but it's not as good as a premium roast of coffee where you can actually sit and enjoy it. So let's dive into this AI business. Now that we kind of know what AI is, let's talk about the different things that are out there and different things that I have used. So by far, the most common one that people hear about is ChatGPT. And I have used ChatGPT almost every day for all different kinds of things. and it is known for its conversational style and idea generation. And just as a fun fact, I use ChatGPT to build out these podcast scripts for most of my episodes, and not to write the script itself, but just to give me an outline so I know what I want to talk about. So another one that we used just recently here is Gemini. Gemini is the Google tool, and it is the Google AI assistant with a deeper integration into Google Workspace tools. For instance, I have a friend, Kyle Anderson, who said he uses Gemini. I think he's actually giving a presentation on it today, but he had a spreadsheet where the first name and the last name were in separate columns, and he didn't want it that way. So he asked Gemini to combine those columns because he was trying to do a mail merge or something, and it was able to do that. He had something similar just going in reverse where he had one column with first and last names, and he asked Gemini to please split this up, and it did. So if you're a Google school and you are able to use Gemini, I think Gemini is going to integrate a lot better into your Google Sheets, Google Slides, Google Docs, all of those different things, all of those different Google products that you are using. So another one I use when I want good sourcing is Perplexity. And Perplexity, I just put it on my phone, and if I'm looking for more of a, I want to say like more of a professional type answer to something that I'm looking for, I will use Perplexity because it will give me its answer, and then right next to it, it'll give me the source, so where it got it. So when you copy and paste from Perplexity, it not only takes the answer, but it also gives you the source of where that answer came from. So you can go in and actually look at some of that source documentation and figure out what exactly you want to use. So putting on my Army hat for a minute, the Army has some of its own AI assistants, and I have used them, and I'll tell you how here in a second. But the Army has one, the most heard of in the Army is called Camo GPT, which I have never been able to get to work. But another one is called Ask Sage, and Ask Sage is very similar to the ChatGPT in that you can put things in it and it'll kick out more of a conversational style idea generation. And I used it to help me grade Army papers a couple weekends ago, and I figure it saved me about 18 hours worth of work. Something that would have taken me about 20 hours took me about 2. So it was definitely helpful. It's by far imperfect. It's not perfect, imperfect, but something with the Army grading is it also helped take some of the bias out because I uploaded the rubric. Every paper had the same prompt on what I wanted it to do. So it took a lot of bias out because when I think of grading Army papers, if you use a certain type of unit, and maybe I really like those types of units, so your grade gets bumped up just based on simply my bias to you using engineers instead of artillery, just as an example. So AI is all over, and if you're not using it, you're falling behind. So let's talk about exactly how you can use AI in the classroom. So the first way I'll say is lesson planning shortcuts. And I've been having a lot of fun messing with this right now. Using ChatGPT or Gemini, you can upload your grade level content expectations, so whatever exactly you want them to learn, and then it's all in the prompting, and I'll talk a little bit more about prompts later, but you can put those in, give it a good prompt, and it can spit out some lesson plan ideas. And depending on your grade level, depending on your topic, you can ask it to make these engaging, you can ask it to make it a gamified format. There's all different types that you can do. So currently what I'm doing with that, and I'm messing with it, really not full time or anything, just as I have a few minutes while the students are working on something. If I have 5-10 minutes, I might be working on this, is I'm taking the Michigan content standards for 8th graders, and I've uploaded them into ChatGPT, and I might try to do it in Perplexity too, just to see if it references back a little better. And I'm asking it to pull out the critical content. And then I'm also trying to build a more realistic pacing guide for as we go through the material, where I should be when. Now, in general, I know just from teaching for a while that I should probably start the Civil War right around April 20th. That just seems to work out for finishing off all of our content and hitting the end of the year. This year, I know I'm a little behind that, but I think by using AI, I may be able to come up with a more complete and detailed pacing guide that could really help me stay on track with my students. So another reason you can, or another way you can use AI is for rubrics and worksheet creation. The AI is really good for building rubrics, bell ringers, even cross curricular type activities. Just last week, we had a cookout in the afternoon. So in the morning, I wanted to keep my classes engaged, but I didn't want to give them any new material. So I asked ChatGPT, and again, it's all in the prompt. If you get good at prompting, you'll be good at AI. But I asked ChatGPT, give me 50 trivia questions. I would like 25 trivia questions from pop culture, including singers, actors, movies, YouTube creators. I had a big long thing in there. And then I would like 25 questions history questions between the year of 1800 and 1860 that cover items found in the Michigan 8th grade social studies content expectations, something like that. And I hit enter, and bang, I had all of these trivia questions. But, and this is why I say it goes into the prompt, I didn't have all the answers. So the cool thing about ChatGPT is it is almost like a chat or a text string, so you can ask it to do more with what it just did. So when I got to the end, I said, this is perfect. Please put the answers next to the questions and make it a history question, pop culture question, history pop, and repeat for all 50. Then I hit enter. It gives me this one-page sheet. It's got a question, it's got the answer, they're all mixed up, and it was great. So I just took that sheet and we made a little game with the students where they would get a certain amount of points. They're trying to get 1,000 points. Whatever team got 1,000 points first won. And it was so much fun. The kids had a riot. And again, it took me about 3 minutes with ChatGPT to get all of the content I needed. That would be the science of teaching. I talk about this a lot. I need to do an episode on it. But then the art of teaching was taking that information and making it a game that we could all play together in my room. So rubric, worksheet creation, those types of things, it is fantastic. Another way you can use ChatGPT or Gemini, and actually Gemini, I want to try this with Gmail because it's integrated right in there, is email communication drafting. And the thing that AI will do is you can tell it what you want to say, however you want to say it, and it'll build it out. Then once you have the content in there, you can ask it, please make this sound more friendly. Please make this shorter and more concise. Please add a paragraph in that talks about X, Y, and Z. And I really don't know why I say please all the time. Maybe it's just a polite thing. I don't think AI cares if you're polite or not. Maybe it does. Maybe I should ask it. So helping you write emails and helping you write drafts of speeches, drafts of IEP meeting notes, it can really help you take some of the ideas that are maybe floating around in your head and not fully complete and help organize them into a way that you can use that. So another way as a teacher you can use these AI tools is for analysis. And when I say analysis, I think more the way I use it is summary. So I can put in a website, I can put in an article, I can put something in it and say, please give me 10 bullet points that summarizes this article. It's kind of that too long didn't read idea. So I've done that with my own blog posts where I'll take a blog post, put it in there and say, give me the top 5 points from this post so that I can talk about it intelligently. So summarizing, analyzing different things, it can really do a lot of stuff. And again, it comes all the way down to how good are you at prompting it, because it'll do exactly what you tell it to, which is going to lead me to a small army story. We're in the beautiful state of Indiana, and we have real soldiers on the ground, and we also have notional soldiers on the ground. Because of our mission, the way it was designed, we would go to the job site, wherever it was, with our organic people. And then the idea was that we could pull in more units as we needed them as they got spun up. So this unit is coming from, say, 200 miles away. And the way the Army runs it, it's neat. Like, we can see them moving on our map, and they have somebody that's talking to us, just somebody who's running the unit notionally, right? One person counts for 250 people. So this unit goes down to the job site in the morning, does what they're supposed to do, and then as all the units are coming back, and I'm trying to manage this, and I have real units coming back and notional units coming back, and trying to manage all of the reports coming in, all of the after action reviews, dishing out assignments for the next day. And this one unit, I don't have their report yet. So I get on the radio and I call this unit. I said, "Hey, where are you? You finished work like 2 hours ago." And they said, "Oh, we're headed back to their base, which is 200 miles away." And I go, "Why on earth would you do that?" Because the whole plan is to come do your work and then come back to where we are, which was about 8 miles away from the job site. And no kidding, the guy on the radio said, "Well, you never told us to do that, dude." I said, "You know what? You're absolutely right. You need to come to our base." And then I can see the little icons on our map coming our way. And I remember being so upset because, yes, they did exactly what I told them to. But at the same time, the person on the other end of the radio should have been the company commander of a unit who could use some of their own initiative and realize they're going to go 8 miles back to the space that we have set up for them, that we've made all this coordination for. They're not going to go the 200 miles back to where they're from. So I kind of consider that like AI, and that it will do exactly what you tell it to. And if your prompt isn't very good, it's not going to be as good as it could be. So I mentioned before that I use ChatGPT to help build out these script outlines. And one thing that it put in the outline that I'm going to skip over is student use of AI, because at Kingsford, it's blocked on our students' computers, so they're not allowed to use it. At the middle school, at the high school, it may be a little bit different. So in the comments, I'd be thrilled to hear if you're having your students use AI and what that looks like. But we're going to keep going with maybe some precautions to use before using AI a lot. And the first one would be plagiarism and over reliance. So mainly this is geared kind of towards towards students, but teachers too. Don't over rely on AI. Don't use it as the know all be all of what you're doing. You still need to put that human touch on it, that art of teaching on the science of AI. And also make sure that you cite it. So in the Army, they're kind of struggling right now, and we do have a policy in place, but our students are graduate level students, and using AI to break down very complex items, using it to help them outline papers, perhaps write papers and whatnot. And the Army is really big right now. They're not sure exactly how they want it used, but they do know that they want it cited. They want to know that John Van Dusen input this into an AI program, which the Army says it has to be one of theirs, not a commercial like ChatGPT or Gemini, and make sure that it's cited, because it's not technically your work and you're not stealing it from anybody else, but it's not yours. So it's just kind of a really interesting thing that I'm sure will continue to evolve. Another thing to consider is privacy and data. I would just caution you what you put in there. I wouldn't take your medical records and upload them into ChatGPT and say, "Please give me a nutrition plan based on my lab results." I mean, you can do what you want. I'm just saying that once you put it out there on the internet, especially in some kind of AI model, it's going to be there forever. So I would just caution you, especially if you're using personal information from yourself or from your students. And then the last thing, and I mentioned it kind of already, was keeping the human touch. The AI generation tools are fantastic, especially for helping organize ideas and brainstorm ideas. But at the end of the day, it still is kind of the instant coffee of writing, and you're going to need to put that human teacher touch on whatever it is so that you can make it work best for you. And I had mentioned it all throughout the episode, but prompting is the key to having AI work best for you. So if you look online, wherever you go, you can even ask AI. But there are several different frameworks for how to ask the AI what you want it to do. So I wrote down just a couple of them. One of them is the acronym CARE, which stands for context, action, result, example. So you can give AI the context of what you're doing. I am a 8th grade teacher. I have 25 students in my room. Give it all that information, and then action. Please build out a game that we can play using this content. And then the result you want, I want it to be in a worksheet style. I want it to be just a list that I have as a teacher. I want it to be multiple choice, however you want it to be. And then give an example of what a question might look like or what a prompt might look like so that it knows what you want it to do. Like I said, it'll do exactly what you tell it to do, but sometimes the struggle is really knowing how to tell it what to do. Another prompt is RACE, which would be role, action, context, expectation. So when you say role, you can say, as a math teacher of 8th grade students, I need to do this. Here is the context, and then here is an example or the expectation of what I want you to do. So I will end with this. It is super fun. We didn't even talk about the art that it can generate, which is hilarious. So make it work for you, make it fun, try it out. Don't be scared of it. Just get in there and mess around with it. You can ask it to build out things, talk like a pirate. You can use it for all types of things. Really, the imagination is your only limitation on this one. So get out there and have some fun with it. So leave a comment down below if you use AI in your classroom, how you use it, or if you have never used it before and this episode is like driven you to the point where you're going to give it a shot. Leave a comment. Let me know how it goes. But AI isn't magic. It's just a tool. But like any tool, it can really help us work smarter and not harder. So it can help take some of those mundane tasks and break them down, make them easier, make them faster. And it's kind of fun. So until next time, make sure you tell your friends, subscribe so they can make the next Classroom Coffee Break.